The morning sun had barely risen when Adrian Voss, one of the city's youngest self-made millionaires, stood by the tall windows of his penthouse, staring down at the world below. He had everything most people only dreamed of: wealth, a name respected by every investor and business rival, and a company that dominated the skyline. But that morning, something troubled him more deeply than any business crisis ever had. For weeks, his eyes had been drawn to one particular employee, a quiet young woman named Marina Hale. She arrived early, left late, worked harder than anyone else in the building, and never once complained. Yet there was always something heavy in her expression, something she carried silently. Adrian had seen thousands of workers over the years, but Marina, something about her tugged at the part of him he often tried to forget, the part still capable of empathy. And that morning, when he watched her leave work holding 2 bags of groceries instead of taking the company car like others did, he felt a strange unease settle in his chest. Something wasn't right. If you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Good Soul to support stories that touch the heart. Adrian never followed people. The idea seemed inappropriate, even uncomfortable. But that day, something pushed him forward. Changing into simple day clothes and a cap, he left the office through the side entrance and quietly trailed behind Marina at a careful distance. It was broad daylight, the streets busy, the air warm. She walked swiftly yet with a posture that spoke of exhaustion. The grocery bags swung low, almost tearing at the handles. Adrian wasn't sure why he was doing this, but every instinct told him to keep going. The path Marina took surprised him. She left the clean corporate district behind and moved toward the older side of town, where buildings aged faster than people, where paint chipped, and rent was cheap. She stopped several times, not for herself, but to give small portions of food to elderly neighbors sitting outside rundown apartments. With each stop, Adrian watched her carefully portion out items she clearly needed herself. She offered warm smiles, bowed her head respectfully, and moved on without expecting a word of gratitude. Adrian stood frozen each time, struck by the sincerity in her gestures. After nearly 30 minutes of walking, Marina turned into a narrow alleyway that led to a modest old building. She climbed the stairs without hesitation, disappearing inside a faded green door. Adrian waited before slowly approaching and peeking into the open window just beside the landing. What he saw made the weight in his chest grow unbearable. Inside the dim apartment, Marina placed the grocery bags on a small table and kneeled beside a bed where an elderly woman lay breathing weakly. The woman's hands trembled as she reached for Marina, and her voice cracked with strain. Marina gently held her, whispering comforting words that somehow reached Adrian through the open window. He watched as she checked the woman's temperature, changed her blanket, massaged her arms, and prepared a simple meal with slow, patient movements that spoke of routine and devotion. It suddenly made sense. Her tired eyes. Her late nights. Her skipped lunches. Her worn-out shoes. Marina wasn't just working for survival, she was fighting for someone she loved. As Adrian stood there, hidden but overwhelmingly exposed to the truth, his throat tightened. He had grown up believing success was earned through power and pressure. He built his empire alone, without anyone to take care of or to be cared for. Watching Marina revealed a life he had never known, a life built not on ambition but on sacrifice. He continued observing as she fed her mother spoon by spoon, her voice soft, hopeful, but cracked with the pain of someone carrying too much. Marina's mother apologized for being a burden, but Marina immediately shook her head, tears slipping down her cheeks as she insisted that she was blessed to have her. The sight broke something inside Adrian, something he had long ignored, the longing for meaning beyond wealth. He couldn't bring himself to walk away, not after seeing that. He waited until Marina left the apartment again, carrying a small notebook and heading quickly toward a nearby bus stop. Adrian followed quietly, his mind racing. When the bus arrived, Marina boarded, unaware of his presence. The wealthy man who once believed he understood the world now sat silently in the back of a public bus, watching the person who unknowingly taught him what real strength looked like. Back at the office, Marina returned to work like nothing had happened. She smiled politely at colleagues, finished reports with precision, and moved through tasks as if she hadn't spent the morning caring for a sick parent. Adrian watched her from his office window, feeling a deep ache in his chest. He knew then that people like her were the backbone of his company, the unseen heroes who powered the world without applause. Later that day, something extraordinary happened. As Marina prepared to leave, she received a call that made her sink into her chair, her shoulders trembling. Her mother's condition had suddenly worsened. Adrian, who had been heading toward the elevator, noticed her distress and felt compelled to approach. But before he could, Marina rushed out in panic. And once again, Adrian followed. He watched as she ran through the daylight streets, tears streaking down her face. When she reached home, she fell to her knees beside her mother, holding her tightly while calling the doctor. Adrian stood in the doorway, unable to stay hidden anymore. He stepped inside quietly, his voice calm, offering help she desperately needed. At that moment, he wasn't a millionaire. He was simply another human being touched by her struggle. Together they helped stabilize her mother until medical assistance arrived. And when Marina finally turned to thank him, her voice shaking, Adrian felt something shift inside him, a sense of purpose he had never known. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Good Soul. Your support helps these meaningful stories reach more people. Before we close, please comment one kind message or prayer for anyone silently struggling today.